Howdy folks, Happy New Year. This is I think my first video this year, and it's been a crazy year already. I think I mentioned that one of my plays is being produced, so I was there for the first week of rehearsals. The last 10 days, I just drove home yesterday. I'm back at my normal job for about a week, and then I go back down for the first week of performances, and I'm making it sound like, oh, how taxing, how draining. But actually, I'm a very lucky writer because I get to have people to work with who want to do my stuff, and that's hard in the theater. But anyway, I've been busy. That's the first one. The second one is I've actually been kind of stumped on what to do for another video. So this is a good opportunity, if you're watching this, to let me know if you have anything you want to see me try out. Let me know if there's something you want to see experimented with or questions that I can answer for you. That's number 2. Number 3 is that sometime this week I'm going to put up some slots for private mentoring, which a couple of you mentioned to me privately. So I'll put that up. And again, that's really for you and whatever you want. If you just like my video style, if you like my reading style, it's not about copying mine, but about helping. I can try to help you find your own. So look for that on my Etsy shop presently, probably tomorrow or the day after. I think those are the big things. So I've been loving watching everyone's 31 Days of Tarot challenge. I haven't actually had a whole lot to add because I don't, I guess I'm sort of a weirdo. Like, I haven't had really good answers to any of them. But I'm envious of everyone who's kind of going through it. So I thought I would just go through a couple of the ones that I actually did have answers to. So I'm going to start with my top 5 tarot decks of 2016. And I guess I'm going to start with... I have more than... Yeah, screw it, right? We're just going to do what we do. So these are the decks that were my top decks this year. So kind of starting with my honorable mention is an underrated deck I wish more people used and had. This is the Ellis Tarot by Taylor Ellis. I've talked about this deck before. I used it in my videos on my Major Arcana. I think I used it in the minors too, but I definitely used some of the cards in the majors. It's just really good art. And it's really smart and clever, and the people are all different colors, literally all different colors, and sort of non-specific and human and non-human. And I always love this deck. I get incredible readings with this deck. It's still in print. In fact, he's about to release a borderless version, which you can pre-order now on his website. It's illustrations.net, ELLIS. I love this deck. And it's not a new deck, but the 2017 edition will be borderless. It's not cheap, that borderless edition, by the way, but I'm still going to save my pennies for it because I adore this deck. It's one of those decks where it's such a workhorse that I forget I have it, and then I'm like, oh right, I should use that one more. I guess another honorable mention is the Fountain Tarot, because I adore everything about this deck except that I don't read with it well, and that makes me really sad. A lot of people will talk about their top decks for love readings or emotional readings or whatever. Everyone's seen this deck, but I'll just flip it. So I'm talking so you have something to look at. I don't really read that way. I just kind of reach for the deck that is calling for me. And everything about this deck, from the cardstock to the packaging to the images. When I got this deck, I said, oh, this is the one I've been waiting for. This card reminds me of Gordon Ramsay. I may have said that before. There's a couple cards in this deck that remind me of people I know or famous people. There's like a card that looks like Lin-Manuel Miranda. I love this death card. I really love this deck. I have a couple cards that I'm not in love with, but when I lay them out, and this is... So what I was getting at was that I don't have cards or decks that I'll use for specific kinds of readings. I just pull whatever seems to be calling out. There are decks, though, that I read really well with, like the Ellis deck. and other decks like this one and like the Line Strider tarot, where I love the art. Like I want to make out with the art. And when I read with those decks, I just sit there stumped. I don't know what it is. I really don't know if it's just that I psych myself out. But oh God, I'll never get rid of this deck because it's just the most, I love the Hermit card. I love it. Oh my God. The Nine of Swords is so good. The art is so clever. So clever. This looks like my friend's husband. Anyway, so it gets an honorable mention because I love it so much. And the creators are very generous human beings, which I also love. And we're going to keep working together. I may force it into submission. What do I look at next? All right, so there's so many. I'm just going to do it, right? Top 5 schmive. The Prism of Visions deck is another deck I love. I should use it more. I did use this in my videos too. This is a deck where all of the minors, when you put them sequentially, show a whole picture, a whole image, which I think is really clever. And he's just a genius of an artist. If you follow him on Instagram, he's just always making something beautiful. This is the extra card in this edition of the deck. In the first edition, I think it was called the Strawberry. I like that he replaced it with something, so I actually leave it there. This is just, it reminds me of like really colorful modern Van Gogh. Some weird cards in this deck, but I love the artwork so much. This is one of the decks where I feel like I should get a second copy just in case. But it's, you know, these indie decks, especially ones that are made this beautifully, aren't cheap. And so it's like, do I keep getting new copies of decks I already have, or do I move on? This was a surprising deck. I wasn't expecting to like all that much, but I wound up loving it. This one's actually in order because I want to... This is the Raven's Prophecy. I actually want to spend some time with this deck because... it's so different, but also because the choice, the suit of cups, is not what I would have imagined to be. It's birds, which to me just say air. It's a little bent because it's been in my suitcase. So I get a little, like, the suit of swords is actually mostly blades and swords, sometimes bones. And, you know, there's a very handsy deck. But the suit of swords kind of makes sense to me. The suit of coins are flowers, which is earthy. The suit of cups is birds, though, ravens, because this is the Raven Prophecy deck. And maybe I should spend some time with the book. But I really, really like this one. And the things that I don't like about it are definitely... I always do this. I get so enraptured in it, I get out of frame. Are definitely less annoying than the things that I love about it. So, that's that. Tarot of Trees is another one that I fell in love with this year. This is new to me, so I haven't used it a whole lot, but I love this. I keep getting reversals in this deck. I feel like this deck wants to... I don't use reversals anymore. As I say, I use context frequently, but this one keeps coming up with reversals. Like I said in another video, I was worried this one would be too cute. See, there's more reversals. And there are some cute elements. I don't go for cute in tarot. I don't mind... I don't know. I was going to say I don't mind whimsical, but I actually hate the word whimsical. Stay in frame, Benny. But the cuteness is outweighed by just how smart, and it's just another deck without people, which makes me happy because, as I've said before, I get, you know, when I started reading, I remember a lot of people saying, or, you know, reading in books, I'm not going to deal with that now. That some readers get distracted by the images on the cards. And I would say, oh, well, that's dumb, because I just loved the Rider-Waite. You know, I'd fallen in love with it finally after courting it. kind of half-heartedly. And I didn't get what that meant, but I kind of do now. And I'm sort of interested in decks that hint at the, you know, as this is said, because you'll see my top deck in a minute, decks that hint at the energy, but aren't really that really don't depict it in the traditional way. And that's why I'm you know, I did my most watched video this year, I think, was the one I did with the bonfire, and the Pagan Otherworlds, and it's also the video that got the most dislikes of mine, because they're both popular. And I'm still, so I'm going to talk about the bonfire in a minute. The Pagan Otherworlds I'm like coming around to in ways. One thing that bugs me is that it's developed this sort of like bow in it, this sort of clicky, so it's hard to bend, and because the cards are really long, it's hard to shuffle anyway. So I may do the dramatic thing and trim it. Oh my god, because I don't like, if I don't love the deck, I feel like it's a limited edition, I should keep it the way it is, and someday someone will want it, and I'll be able to get something else that I wanted because of that. But on the other hand, I'm like, as I always say, tarot is a functional art, so I kind of want to use it, and if I can't shuffle it, it's hard to use. And now that it's developed this, like, you know how some decks sort of, when you bend them, they click? It started doing that, and I don't know why. I don't know if, like, the air in the apartment got damp and it sort of messed up the cards, but I'm unhappy about that. But I wonder if trimming it will make it easier to shuffle. It's because it's so long. I really have come around on the minors. I like them. So my top deck this year was the Wild Unknown, and I've sung you my songs on this, so you can see my video on tarot goodies for the year, and you can hear about how I felt about this deck and why, and how many years I wasted being a bitch about it. As I'm talking, I'm actually going to go into another question. I just loved this deck. In fact, the other night I had a panic attack. I have 2 copies of the second edition. I almost bought a third because I was like, ugh. I know that there's a mass market edition now, and, you know, if anything happens to both of my, you know, second editions, I can always get the mass market. But it's just, there's something about this edition that I love, love, love. I'm looking for a card. That's why I'm doing this. I know everybody and their mother has seen this deck. But I love it, and I want to make sure I always have a copy of it. So this was my most used deck of the year. It became really the deck I read with most, for myself and for others. It's the one I kind of carry with me everywhere all the time. So that's that. Now, the card that stalked me this year it was interesting because Death and the Three of Swords, which are cards you never really want to see, were constant companions this year. But the reason I'm pulling them out of this deck is because I talked about this in my majors video. This depiction of this card actually taught me a lot about, about what the card means, and about the way things kind of dissolve and decompose and fertilize what comes next. And the Death card's position sort of close to the middle of the majors in order, that makes sense. You know, you pause in the middle of the journey, you kind of go internal in the Hanged Man, and then and in there you die to yourself, and you shed everything that you don't need, but that experience doesn't go away, and it wasn't wasted. It fertilizes the ground for the next phase. So the Three of Swords just kept coming up a lot after the election, honestly. And it was, you know, this is a card that's always interesting to me too. You can watch my Suit of Swords video on why I think this card is so interesting, but the idea of the heart and the mind shoving itself together in this card is always interesting to me. This is not my favorite depiction of this card. It was just, this one is so important that I chose that one too. So that was the one about the card that stalked you. So I'm having a little glass of wine because I'm making spaghetti and meatballs, and you have to, if you're making Italian food, you have to have You have to have red wine. That's a rule. So this was my most used deck. Those were the cards that stalked me. I could probably summarize 2016 in those two cards too. Oh, the top 5 books. Now these, none of the, I don't think any of these books came out this year. Hold on one sec. But these were books that I read or started reading, and I'm just gonna share them with you because they're interesting, and I don't think I've talked about most of them before. So this one I know I did talk about before. Tarot and Psychology. This is a really interesting book. I'm actually at a place right now where I'm trying to distance myself from psychological approach to tarot, because what I want to see if I can do, and this is one of my goals for 2017, so I'll talk about that later. One of the things I want to do is see how far I can take tarot into practical application, where the readings are helpful and practical and less kind of poetically impressive, where they actually answer questions as practically, to use that word yet again, as something like Lenormand does. But this was an interesting book, and I do want to read the new one everyone's living for right now, Tarot at the Crossroads. But yeah, there was an interesting adaptation of the Celtic crossbred in this book that I really like. I started reading on recommendation from one of you, actually, Robert Wing's Kabbalistic Tarot. I mean, this is a textbook. And I've been reading it for a few months, and I have an extra moon card from The Wild Unknown, by the way, and if you watch my Tarot Goodies video, you'll see why. This is like a beast, and it is so heady. I mean, it is like holy, like, intellect Batman. This is like all swords all the time, but it is interesting. And I mean that literally. It's fascinating. I don't get all of it, and I have to sort of like go back and read, and so I'm reading it really slowly. But it's good. I actually, I think it's Robert M. Place has a book that he wrote under a pseudonym called The Chicken Kabbalah, which is like Kabbalah for dummies, that I actually would like to read to kind of help me make sense of this. So this is one thing that I haven't read. This one I actually read all of. This is an old book. I think it might be out of print, but there are definitely used copies out there, and the used copy I got is in terrible shape. But this is the Tarot History, Mystery, and Law by Cynthia Giles. And it's really good. If you're interested in history but not if you're not like super into dry writing, this is a really good book. I had already read Robert M. Place's Tarot History, Divination, and as I always say, I forget the third thing. Can I see it from? I can see it from here, but I can't read. It doesn't matter. Tarot, History, Mystery, and History, Doc. Anyway, I'd already read that, so I knew a lot of what was in here. But this is really, really good, and she just has a lot of interesting stuff to say about the history and about things that tarot can do. And so I'm glad I read. I really liked it. And then she has another book that came out later, but this is also an old one, called Tarot Methods, Mastery, and More. And about halfway through this and really enjoying it. So again, this is another old one. I think this one is still in print, but I don't know. You never know. It's hard to tell these days. But I got it, and it wasn't expensive. So this one was hard to find, and it was kind of expensive, but it's still good. I'm about halfway through this too. This is pretty famous. A Wicked Pack of Cards, The Origin of the Occult Tarot. This is interesting because it really gets into the history, and this goes up to like this doesn't even get into Golden Dawn. This book, as thick as this book is, it doesn't even get to Golden Dawn. This is about Atea and the French folks, the French dudes. There's a section on Mademoiselle Lenormand actually in here too, which I haven't gotten to yet. But so that's interesting. So those are some interesting tarot books I have experienced, none of which came out this year. But I'm just kind of going through a backlog of things that have interested me. I'm waiting for some books to catch my eye this year. I think Tarot at the Crossroads will, but I don't know. I'm just kind of, I'm at a point where like I've read all the classics sort of, or I'm in the middle of them, and I kind of have got that. Like I get it. Um, I think now I'm sort of looking for books about the things that made up those histories. Like I'm interested in reading about Kabbalah to see where those ideas came from. You know how I feel about tarot and astrology, which makes me unpopular. If you've watched my videos, I don't have any problem with it. I don't see the relationship as strongly as others do, and I know that the Kabbalah has to be sort of jury rigged into the system of tarot too, but it fits better. Astrology, astrology to me is like math. It's like why I'm struggling with Lenormand. It's like math. So those were the books. What else should I talk about? Decks, Oracle decks. I guess the only Oracle deck I really used this year was Lenormand. It's the Maybe Lenormand. This is the one I've been working with. Not the whole thing. I've just been using the Lenormand cards themselves. This is, if you haven't seen it, a 56 card deck that comes in two parts. So there's the 36 Lenormand, and then there's a handful more. I haven't even gotten to those yet. I get, it's not a tarot book, but I'm also, as I said, reading Caitlin Matthews' Lenormand. Did I bring? No, I didn't. Caitlin Matthews' Lenormand book, which is really good. It's really, really good. I've done a couple for I think I got to everyone who asked for one. Lenormand readings for folks as practice. And it's been interesting practice. I mean, the thing that I've learned is like I'm good at confirming what's already happened. Making sense of what to do next, or to give advice or to predict the future is not something I'm sort of good at right now. But so Oracle deck, I did get this year the Sacred Symbols. Is that what it's called? I can't even see it from here. The Sacred Symbols and the Tir Marcretti Oracle deck, the Oracle of Visions. Well, I said in the Truth and Story live chat this weekend, which I managed to catch, is that I started buying a couple Oracle decks because I was getting like fed up with the structure of tarot, and I felt kind of hemmed in by it. And then as soon as I got out of it, I missed it. I didn't. So there was like all this option. There was all this freedom in and then I didn't know how to read with them. Whereas with tarot, I sort of knew, which is why the only Oracle I'm really spending time with is Lenormand, because there is a system to it. So it's the only one that I found that actually sort of interests me and has a system to it. So the deck that I crossed off my wish list this year was actually the Bonefire Tarot. And you know that I am having mixed feelings about the deck. Not the art. I did sort of go off on my whiteness of tarot, but this isn't the worst example of it. I'm actually having a hard time with this deck because it's so freaking hard to shuffle, and it's not getting easier to shuffle for me for some reason. It's getting harder. It's just so big. It's like, and the cards, like if this size were fine, if the cardstock weren't so thick. And as I said in my like little walkthrough of it, it's gonna last, which is awesome. But if I never use it, then of course it's gonna last. I do like the art though, for what it's worth, and for the most part. I think it's very clever. I did, darken the edges, which I like. So this was a deck that I crossed off my wish list. For what it's worth. To the artist, I'm thrilled. To the publisher, please, the publishing company who published this deck is doing a really good thing by making a lot of decks that would not have been available to others available. And they seem to be, kind customer service wise. The packaging is beautiful. It seems like it's just the cards themselves are so glossy and thick and like matte and just thick enough. Is the please publishers, do that for me personally. But like I said, other people have had a fine time with. And, other people who commented on my video have said, my deck was great, shuffles fine, it's glossy, it works. So, that's just me being a crank. This doesn't really count because I got it this year, but because I was away when it came in. Um, it came in while I was away and then I got back, is the Wooden Tarot. I really like this deck. I don't know what to do with it, but man, is it weird. But it's beautiful. So we'll see. This is a deck that I want to get to know. So that was on my wish list too, and I went back and forth, and then ultimately decided that I have to stop doing that because they go out of print and I miss out on them. Like the I can't remember the name of it. It's by the artist who did the Clair de Lune Lenormand, and it's like the Rorschach. I want to call it the Saltwater Tarot, but it had water in the title, I think. I was like, I love that. I'm gonna get it. No, I won't. Oh my god, I love it. No, I won't. And then I didn't, and it's gone now. All gone. Bye-bye. I don't know why I did that. Which brings me to my next lovely thing, which are the top 5 decks on my wish list. I don't have a wish list because I'm not super good at keeping up, and I'm trying to, one of my goals is to get better at this, but I don't know what's out there, what people are working on. But I do have 2 decks one is out, and I really should buy it, and it is the Slow Holler Tarot, which people have been reviewing, and I hate collaborative decks, but as you've probably seen, they've kept the color palette the same for each artist, so I feel like I can maybe live with that, and there's just something about it. The other one is not out yet, and I'm really drooling over it. It's the Numinous Tarot, and you can follow him on Tumblr, and the gender pronoun is we. You can follow them. Try to be very careful about that. You can follow them on Tumblr and Instagram. This is what it's going to look like, though, and holy God, do I love it. Okay, here's my nerd thing, right? The Suit of Wands, they renamed candles. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with Christmas candles I was obsessed with. I just loved candles. So the Suit of Candles makes me just giddy. But look how pretty it is. It is very Rider-Waite-y, which, I'm trying to get away from, but not exclusively. And I'm gagging over this deck. I just cannot wait for this to start funding, and for it to be done so that I can have it and hold it and use it and make out with it. So, I also pre-ordered the Idiosyncratic. That was another one that I wanted and missed out on. So I'm glad that that's coming back. So I pre-ordered that. The last thing is my goals. This is the last of the ones that I have an answer for right now. I do want to find ways to make tarot more practical. I want to, and I'm sure in the process of doing this, I'm going to somewhat piss people off. Maybe not piss people off, but go down controversial roads. It's not that I don't like the spiritual aspect of it, but I feel like what I would like to find in it is more practicality, is ways to really answer the questions that I'm asked, that don't get caught up in the swirl of poetics, that make it hard to connect with, and I've always been really impressive at the poetry of tarot and finding the things that the querent already knows, and they're kind of impressed by the fact that I knew what they didn't tell me. What I'm less good at frequently is well, here's some things you could try. That tends to be grayer. So that's one goal. I do want to teach. I want to do more practice, teaching and coaching and just helping people. My whole mission for the videos that I make is to, just help people continue falling in love with this art form and finding out what they want to do with it, and just fall in love with it as much as I have, and talk about it and be part of that community. The other thing is that I'm actually going to go to a tarot conference this year, which I've never done before, because my introversion makes it difficult for me to be alone around people I don't know. But after 15 years as a playwright and having to go into a rehearsal room full of people I don't know, I guess I can do it with tarot too. So I've registered for the Reader's Studio. So I'm going to be, barring any, unforeseen anything, I'll be at the Reader's Studio this year, which I'm really excited about. Probably will spend all my savings account there. And, yeah. So anyway, those are my answers to the tarot challenge questions so far. Maybe I'll do another. I thought I didn't have a whole lot to say, and then how far are we into this? Yeah, 30 minutes. You can rest assured that I never think I have anything to say, and then when I open my mouth, I ramble on and mansplain until the cows come home. Anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. I hope this is good. If you have made it through this whole video and you have ideas for future videos, let me know. Talk soon.